All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're tuning in from. I hope you are having an amazing day and welcome to the Polyhedra Show. So, it is the first week of the ZKML Festival, and what a week it has been, packed with some incredible shows, some AMAs, and some deep dives into the future of AI and where it's all going. It's been super cool to pull back the curtain and see how AI is reshaping everything from the way we create art to how we work, think, and make decisions. And through it all, we've been exploring how tools like ZK PyTorch and ZKML are helping us build a future where AI is not just powerful, but provably safe. So today we're capping off the week with a killer lineup and a big question. Why is verifiable AI so important? And I couldn't ask for a better crew to break it down. Starting off with our special guest for today, Mr. John Redinger. He is a global powerhouse and legend in the tech space. You probably know him as the founder of Techno Buffalo and the face of John for Lakers, which is a YouTube channel with over 1.6 million subscribers. We are really excited for John to be joining us and bringing in his unique perspective on where all of this is heading. Of course, we are joined by Eric Vreeland, our Chief Strategy Officer at Polyhedra, and Dr. Zhenfei Zhang, of course, our Chief Cryptographer at Polyhedra and the engine behind the zero knowledge systems making AI verifiable. So, guys, we are live on X, Discord, and YouTube. Drop your questions. Let's make this a conversation. And yeah, let's get straight into it. John, Eric, Zhenfei, welcome to the show.
Thank you,
Anthony.
Thank you for having me. I'm today's designated guy who's not a cryptographer, but I will nod enthusiastically anyway. Usually when I hear like zero knowledge proofs, that usually gives me anxiety that I forgot some homework. But I'm excited to talk to the experts who actually make these things work and kind of represent maybe like an average consumer perspective.
That's all we can hope for, John. And I think, given that this is your first time on the show, hopefully first of many.
I hope so.
Maybe you can give the polyhedrons, that's what we call them. Maybe you can give the polyhedrons a little bit of your background and insight, and kind of, what led you to where you are today, doing, videos on verifiable AI and ZKML.
Absolutely. So I'm a guy who just always, aside from my family, has always loved tech. I used to go walk around Best Buy just to relax after a stressful day, that kind of tech. And I've been really focused on the consumer side. And for the previous 10 years, that has meant mostly handheld electronics. It's been phones, laptops, that kind of thing. But really the past 5 years, we've seen what consumer means change. It's not necessarily a tangible product anymore. It's AI and utilizing AI. In a lot of ways, people don't know that they're using AI. For the folks that aren't in the AI space, people still think of AI as a marketing term or something like ChatGPT as a fancy Google. But being able to search your phone for pictures of dog is using AI, and try to demystify the term, and also ways to use it safer and make sure you can trust what it's saying has kind of been a fun path to try to educate sort of the mass consumer about this brand new, I guess the term paradigm shift gets thrown around a lot, but like this really is a paradigm shift for information and interaction.
Yeah. And can you point to a specific occurrence where you were like, this is not just a fad, this is something that's here to stay and it's going to, change the way we live our lives? Or maybe you have a story of where you were like, holy shit, this is.
There are many that I could pick from. I think that the first was really the first time that I saw text to video was like just absurd. As somebody who's in the video space, I was like, that would have cost me $20,000 and taken me probably 18 to 25 hours. The first time actually seeing a tangible example of that was unbelievable. But really, I was working on a business plan for marketing development, and I had been struggling with it for 6 months. and I'd hit a wall. I couldn't come up with new ideas. I wanted to take this plan out to investors, and I couldn't get past that wall. I was like, you know what? I'm just on a whim. It was like 3 a.m. I had insomnia and anxiety. I'm like, I'm going to try to use some of these tools that everybody's been talking about. And within 20 minutes, not only had I been able to break through the wall, sort of utilizing AI, but I had a better plan than I ever could have started with. And from that sort of 3 a.m. frantic until probably 3 the next day, prompting and talking and interacting and almost bouncing ideas off a friend with much more knowledge than I did was so eye-opening. And it really shifted my perspective on what AI could do. But what also shifted it, some of the information it gave me wasn't accurate.
Yep.
But I thought it was, and it certainly sounded accurate. And it very quickly was made aware that AI, much like my 11-year-old, is very confident in what it says. Sometimes doesn't know what it's saying. So it was sort of a double-edged sword for me to realize like these tools are here, but you also have to make sure you are trust but verifying. And that sort of led me, obviously, what you guys are doing in the space. Being able to understand what's coming into you, being able to understand the bias that might be in it, and also making sure the information is accurate and up to date is sometimes a struggle. But being able to have a system or a company or a set of tools that you can trust to bridge that gap for you, I think is absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. And I think, you and Zhenfei and I, like we live in this world. So we're already a little bit more skeptical, and we're, used to kind of doing sanity checks on things and making sure that the information that we're seeing. My wife is a middle school English teacher, and you can imagine the homework assignments that she gets with just blatantly wrong answers.
Oh, yes.
Obviously are coming straight from ChatGPT. So I guess, and you kind of alluded to this already, but what scares you more? The fact that AI is, sometimes acting unexpectedly and behaving in a manner that wasn't intended, or humans kind of blindly trusting AI?
I think what sort of not made me fearful of AI is a bad way to phrase it, but I think what made me skeptical of AI was seeing how it can manipulate perception, and manipulate it very easily. It's like talking if you were a scientist and you had the opportunity to talk to the head of biology at a prestigious university, you would take what that person's saying as gospel. You would trust that what they were saying was accurate. When people are talking to AI, myself included, I still have that perception that I'm talking to that head of the university when I get this information. And being able to realize how much that perception can be manipulated very easily is interesting. You hear all this talk about fake news, but they're talking about a fake reality that can be presented to you from AI. And I think that gave me a healthy dose of skepticism.
Absolutely. And I use this analogy sometimes, and I do think, like, yes, there are certain scenarios where you're going to just blindly trust this person, and that might not even be right to do. For instance, if you were to go to a doctor and get diagnosed with a serious disease, you'd probably ask, how did you come up with this diagnosis? Can you explain how you came to this decision? What's the data that this was based on? What are the precedents, like the other patients that exhibited similar systems or symptoms? And, if the doctor just said, sorry, I can't share that. I don't have it. I can't reveal that information. Just trust me, bro. Then you'd probably go look for a second opinion. And I tie that kind of to what we're trying to do with Verifiable AI, where it's like, up until recently, it has been very trust me, bro. And now we're trying to add a level of, okay, well, you can verify that this model wasn't manipulated. You can verify that this model is the model you expect it to be. You can verify that its historical performance, was whatever 99% accurate, and you can have 99% confidence in this, and no longer do you just have to hope that if it gives you an incorrect output that you're just blindly trusting it. And so that's what we're building. And this week we have made some real substantial strides with regards to our ZKML technology and ZK PyTorch. And so excited to have Jen Fay, our chief cryptographer, on the show. We've been working on this for a while, Jen Fay. It's obviously an incredibly difficult problem. Can you talk a little bit why it's a difficult problem to solve? Why mathematically is it difficult to prove that AI is behaving fairly?
Right. So I guess a little bit background of the literature. So verifiable computation, we know how to do it for the last 30, 40 years already. I mean, the theorem, the technology is always there. It's just it's never been practical. We've seen huge breakthroughs for the past decade, seeing the FH fully homomorphic encryptions and particularly zero knowledge proofs particularly benefit to this Web3 boom. This tech has advanced greatly so that we can now build some of the applications verifiable. Like people are nowadays are very happy, very interested in say zero knowledge virtual machine, so which allow you to verify arbitrary arbitrary executions of programs. Here we are looking at a very specific task for the ZKML. We are looking at the machine learning inference and hopefully in future machine learning training process. For those kind of tasks, the main, I mean, as I said earlier, we know how to do it. We know how to do it from 40 years ago. It's just it's never been scalable. And the main challenge is try to make it scalable. And we cannot do it with the existing tech like the ZK virtual machine tech. We have to come up with some of our own ideas to make this practical and scalable. So the main difficulty is actually to knowledge transfer the existing tech in research into industry while maintaining a scalable performance.
Amazing. And John mentioned all of these kind of consumer-facing applications that we might be able to use this for. There's going to be more and more niche models for very specific verticals. You're starting to see domain-specific models, like for lawyers, for business plan creation, for text to video, speech to text, etc. If you're an AI developer working on one of these solutions, do you have to be a cryptographer to implement this verifiability into your workflow?
Yeah, I guess that's the main pain point that we're trying to solve. Say there are like only this amount of people who knows cryptography, but this amount of people who knows AI. Right? Okay, so I get my point. So there are way more AI developers than cryptographers, and we hope that none of them needs to learn cryptography because believe me, it's a pain process. Yeah, so our tool chain. So we developed our tool so that it's getting integrated into PyTorch seamlessly. So if you are an existing PyTorch developer, then you will be able to reuse most of your code, just maybe a couple of lines of the import that you will need to change, and then you will be able to invoke our toolchain. Our toolchain will do all the rest. So specifically, what we do is what do we do behind the curtain is like we extract the ONNX from your AI model and then compile it into our circuit, and then we prove the circuit and generate proof. All of this will be done in the background. So what you will see is like you will write your original code, add import the PyTorch, and at the end of the inference, it will come up with the proof along with the inference result.
Amazing. So simple, John and I could do it probably. Yeah. Hopefully. That's the goal.
You guys are the experts, and we're about to put out a kind of a post that's promoting that we're here. Can I try to simplify it for folks that aren't?
Yes, experts, please.
To kind of understand. And I was thinking last night about a way to do this. So interrupt me at any point because I am the farthest thing from an expert on AI, verifiability. I was trying to explain it to my wife. And because AI, I think, is making decisions that impact real lives, right now we have to kind of trust that it's being fair, it's being accurate, and I think being honest. And for the most part, and most people, that's not good enough. And when AI is being used to decide real things like who's getting a loan or a job interview, you mentioned medical diagnosis. Like, you want to know, did the AI use reliable data? Is it I guess, did it follow ethical rules, especially in the medical side? Did someone tamper with it or put bias in it? Verifiability, to my understanding, gives you a receipt. It's a proof that the AI followed a set of rules, wasn't manipulated, and didn't just like make stuff up. It's about AI making kind of AI, not about making AI smarter, but more about making AI more accountable. Is that accurate?
giving AI kind of an identity, I would say, John. There have been this is not a example that has been it might have had a big financial impact, but there are, people who say that there is a Twitter account that is completely tweeting from AI. And maybe people are, making decisions off of this ad. Maybe it's like a stock picker AI thing. And then all of a sudden, the person who owns the account, maybe they just throw in one tweet that they generated themselves. Maybe they bought a stock and they want to pump it up and say, AI says to buy this stock, but really it's just a human behind the keyboard. There's no way. I mean, there is a way, but like previously there was no way to verify, like, was this generated by the AI or was this generated by a human? Which which model was this generated by? And so with ZKML and verifiable AI, you will get the receipt. You will get the receipt, like, this is actually coming from this particular type of AI.
So like without verifiability, it's like a black box, but like with it, you're getting a flashlight and a receipt to kind of shine in there and see where the information came. Is that that's somebody as me?
That's absolutely
that
correct.
Makes sense. Okay.
And I think, there's a lot of other applications where it might be interesting, right? So for example, there are some very large kind of creators of these models, these billion parameter models, these 10 billion parameter models, 100 billion parameter models. They take a lot of resources to create. And so they spend a lot of time and effort on these models with the goal that now they can license out access to those models to applications that are building on top of them. You can imagine, though, that an application may say, well, we're using the best model developed on the market right now, this 100 billion parameter model, and you're going to get the most accurate results, and you're going to get it's going to be the best model for your particular use case. And then when you interact with it, they're not actually using that model. They're using some slimmed down version that costs them less money to run, and they're serving you the answers, and you have no way of knowing, like, are they actually doing what they say they're doing? So it's really adding visibility, not just to kind of a human interaction with AI, but through the entire AI supply chain. This receipt can travel. So if it's going from model to application to something to user, that receipt can kind of flow with it. That provenance of this AI interaction can flow through the entire supply chain. And then I would say one other one is, there are going to be use cases where the model details cannot be revealed. So, I mean, it's a similar scenario where you're licensing out proprietary models because that's your secret sauce. Maybe it's for disease diagnosis, maybe it's for investing. And you just need some sort of way to validate that you're actually getting responses from the model that you expect. So I guess with that, John, since you were able to spin this so well and simplify it, because we do find ourselves really in the weeds here, and it is hard to kind of put yourself in the shoes of someone who may be learning about this for the first time. What was it that made you kind of get excited about verifiable AI? What was it that kind of pulled you from, maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone to know, this technology is powerful, and I want to learn more about this and work with these guys?
I think for me is about being able to sort of check the AI's work. I use it and we use it for a lot of major decisions, but like, I don't know how it's making those decisions, right? I'm just like throwing things out in the world and getting answers back. And I think verifiability is like flipping on the lights, and it kind of let me understand and try to trust the system and not just like hope that it got things right for me. And I think that is really what resonated. If I was putting a lot of faith in the machine, so to speak, I wanted to know more about the machine.
Absolutely. And one of the kind of up and coming areas that we're starting to see a lot of growth in the AI sector is this idea of AI agents. And that can mean a lot of different things, whether it's enterprise or consumer facing. Maybe John, since you did such a good job of this already, maybe you could explain AI agents to our audience just quickly if maybe they're not familiar with what AI
Yeah, I think to my understanding, it's just another way to use AI to automate a lot of workflows. At least that's how I use it. I use them to summarizing research for me, drafting scripts. I have an AI agent that'll make dinner reservations for me, and it'll take over my screen. It'll go to OpenTable, and it'll do all those things for me. It's almost like taking the chat box and like giving it an actual like real world task to do.
Yeah.
So we use it for like I said, summarizing research, sometimes helping with editing scripts, helping brainstorm. I kind of treat my AI agents, and I know probably 1,000% of what AI agents can do, but I treat them kind of like junior team members. Someone who like just started, like an intern, like really good for speed, but not always judgment. So I still have to kind of double check everything that they're doing. It's my AI agents are like fast and helpful, but like I wouldn't trust them to run the company quite yet. if that helps.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Genfei, we've been doing some specific work on ZKML as it's applied to AI agents. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why verifiability and AI agent identity is so important if we're going to grow from, I don't know how many, millions of agents that we have today to trillions of agents that might be present in 3 to 5 years.
Right. So your agent is like your personal assistant, right? What I mean, she may not have all the skill set that that she needs to assist you, but she has a lot of contacts. All these contacts are different kernels or different models. So she can pick some of the kernels and then relay your query to those kernels, and these pawns will give their result and get back to your agent, and the agent will give the result to you. So this is the workflow. So it's like you think of a tree or a tree structure where you have only one root. That's your contact person, your agent, and she can decide who to query and what to query. All these things are behind the curtain. So you may, I mean, as a cautious person, you may feel a little bit worried, like like you were saying, will she get to the model that I want her to ask, or did she pass my private information to some third party that I didn't authorize. So both, so I guess there are two things. One is verifiability, another one is privacy. Both can be solved with the ZK machine learning. So with ZK machine learning, there's a zero knowledge in it, meaning that when I do something, my privacy is not necessarily leaked to the other party, right? So that helps me to protect my information. Imagine that if you were to invoke a same kernel as another person and somehow your information get somehow your information get say crossed over, and this kind of information may be leaked to a third party. So ZKML can help you with that. And the other one is the verifiable, and we have talked about it since the beginning of the show. So you will be able to show, okay, you will get a receipt basically, or a green tick or blue tick that, okay, I'm using this list of the models, and here are the receipt, and and basically that gives you assurance of the mind that you're not even invoking anything bad or rubbish model or something like that.
Yeah. So it has similar or even equivalent verifiability characteristics, but also this added privacy characteristic on top of it, where you can, have more control over the permissions and the data revealed or that this agent reveals. So if John is using his agent to make, to do multiple tasks potentially, and one of them is make him reservations at a restaurant, he can make sure that his, the agent's not giving his bank account information and social security information to the person taking his reservation request. Awesome. Well, that's we've seen a lot of progress, I think, being made, a lot of investment into this idea of AI agents, all the way from the large enterprises that everyone knows, down to a lot of startups kind of trying to figure out and solve the agent problem. We're also seeing a lot of advancements on the LLM front. There was the DeepSeek news a few months ago. OpenAI is coming out with new models. John, how do you have your alerts on when a new model comes out?
Oh, man. Always.
How do you filter through the noise? And I guess for our audience that's, maybe doesn't have time to go and use every model, how do you figure out which model's right for you?
And as the dumb guy in this conversation, picking AI models like choosing the right running shoes, right? Try a few of them and then just run with what fits. Don't overthink it. If you're just starting, start with a well-known model, pick ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, and just use it. You'll figure out what works through trial and error through your use. You don't need to be technical. Just get your hands on the tools, try it, and see what, fits your feet the best.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to approach it, and Genfei, we're, because we are seeing so many new models pop up, I think there is going to be an appetite for, all of these models to be verifiable at some point or another. Can you talk about how are we going about proving computation on these real models? And I know that the size of these models is kind of one of the areas that, we spend a lot of time focusing on and coming up with solutions for these, models with billions of parameters. Can you talk a little bit more about what, why that makes it difficult and how we're going about solving it?
Right. So every time there's not every time, but let's try to say. So for there are maybe 60 different kernels in the whole world that common kernels in the whole world, where each model will just pick a subset of these 60 different kernels and then this will become their model. So what I'm trying to say is if you look at the union of all these models and break them down to the kernels, you will get around 60 of them. And our solution is we do not target a particular kernel with a particular model. We just ZK snapify. Sorry, it's a word for ZK proving something. So we just snapify the 60 different kernels, and when you come up with a new model, say DeepSeek comes up, then it will use, let's say, a subset of 30 models, 30 kernels from these 60. Then we just need to write a front end to a host code to handpick those 30 different kernels. So our development, once we have finished these 60 different kernels, is kind of really low. We can catch up with it. It only takes us maybe 1 week of time to get the to support a new model. So
cool. So we've got all the building blocks, and we've got all the tools that make turning models into verifiable models very easy. And we just need to do a little bit of work, but relatively we can apply all of the work that we've done for, let's say, Llama 3, and it will significantly improve the our ability to apply that to new models coming out.
Yeah.
I want to move up to, we've talked about LLMs. We've talked about kind of agents. I want to kind of go back to the application level. John, you talked about this a little bit earlier, but what are you looking forward to, or what is an application that if it was, built today, you would be extremely excited about? What's something that's missing that maybe we can give some of the developers in the audience an idea for something to build?
I mean, again, as somebody who's not seen a roadmap or privy to a roadmap or even understands the technology behind any possible roadmap, I would think, and I would at least want, that kind of the next wave of AI won't just answer you, but it'll explain itself to you. And I think that's when like the trust really happens. I would assume that AI apps are going to get more personal and explainable. They're already starting to kind of learn your habits, adapt to your needs. And I think that this is like the biggest sea change that we'll see, but be able to tell you why they gave you a certain response. And I think at that point, that's when AI starts to feel trustworthy.
So you're less, I think, wasn't there some backlash with the latest OpenAI models? Because
it was super friendly.
Made them really friendly. That's not what you're looking for. You don't care if it's friendly or it knows the lingo. You just want it to actually be able to explain how it came up with the answers.
I do not need the AI to pat me on the back or tell me great job. I need to explain why I made a mistake, how I can fix that mistakes, and tell me how it realized that I made these mistakes. Is what I'm looking for. I don't want a sycophantic AI living in my computer.
Sometimes we just need a little pat on the back. Come on, John.
But then you can ask for that, right? Like, be my supporter.
Yeah, absolutely. And Genfei, kind of same question to you with a little spin on it. What is the next wave of applications that you think would really benefit from having this receipt, having this proof come alongside with its outputs?
I guess I would say, like, in general, everything should be beneficial from having a receipt. Like, I mean, people who watch our show probably know me using this analogy quite a few times. So I'm always related this ZK machine learning or verifiable AI to the Web2 space, where at the very beginning of the internet, you can just browse everything, and you don't have any trustworthy of the information or data that you get. You just click on on a link, you get some information, right? Later on, there was this HTTPS, and at the early stage of HTTPS, you still see a shield on your browser showing that, okay, distinguishing that you are using HTTPS rather than HTTP. But nowadays, you don't see this shield at all. It's always integrated and it's always protecting. So I would say that I always view the ZKML, the TLS for the IP protocols. In analogy to the how we protect the machine learning. So our goal is, say, when you have an application, and when the model give you some result, tell you, okay, good job, it will have a green or blue tick alongside the good job, and showing that, okay, this is actually a really good job. So it's actually authenticated and integrated and verified, and hopefully by the time that we achieve all of this, our ZKML become a background to you and to and it's always our philosophy to be to stay behind the curtain. And hopefully by that time of the day, then you will just use the any model that you like as you are using today, and without you worry that the data is inaccurate.
Can I ask like a dumb question, just to make sure I understand clearly, and maybe some of the folks in my audience came over, like ZKML, like what it means, and zero knowledge. From my understanding, it's ZKML is like having a way to sort of prove AI made a decision fairly, right? Without needing to kind of expose all the data behind it. Is that a reasonable explanation?
Fairly, fairly is, I think, a byproduct of this, but it's to prove that the model executed correctly, that it was not manipulated. So if manipulation or an error in computation leads to unfairness, then yes. So I think that's like a subset, but really it's just to prove that this model, the model is behaving as expected.
I think that makes sense. And we're kind of going.
If someone were, sorry to interrupt, but if someone were to create a model, and the model is created with a purpose of misinformation, then when ZKML would be applied to it, the model would still be behaving as expected, but the model would still be, potentially lying to you. So there's still an element of, that's why it's when ZKML is paired with like historical back tests and accuracy tests, that's very important. Because it's just proving the model executed correctly. And I don't know, Genfei, if you have something else to add to that.
Yeah, you just mentioned, I guess what John was looking for is precisely the ZKML integrated into the precision checking algorithm. So in precision check, I mean, the precision check accuracy check will allow you to what tell the user that, okay, the model has a 96% of the accuracy, which means it's very good, okay?
Yeah.
But this 96, it's just, I mean, there's no way that you can verify it unless you have a ZKML tech. So I guess those two combined will give what you wanted.
That makes sense. We're kind of entering a world where we can't just like afford to hope our AI is playing fair. Like you need the receipts. And I think what you guys are doing, what Polyhedra is doing is kind of carving that path, which I think is awesome.
And I heard our CTO Tianchen had a really good example the other day that I will repeat for anyone who wasn't there. He talked about, there's a lot of work being done to understand how AI comes up with the decisions that it does. And that a lot of people are saying this is necessary for us to trust AI more in the future. And our kind of counter argument to that is we have no idea how the human brain works, but we still have this ability to develop trust with other humans. And there's a lot that goes into it, right? It's like historically, has this person told the truth to you or have they lied to you? Like, how long have you known them? What is their track record with regards to like making decisions? So we can apply this same framework to AI. We don't necessarily need to have it explain every single thing that it does, but we need to have a good kind of historical track record. We need to make sure that, okay, this is actually the person or the agent that I think I'm talking to is the one that I'm actually talking to, or is actually making these decisions. And so I think that's really a really powerful statement, because you do hear a lot about like, we really, really need to work on understanding how AI is coming up with these decisions. And while that would be helpful, I don't necessarily think it's entirely necessary if we can build a foundation and a framework where we can implement this type of precision testing that comes with a ZKML proof, et cetera. I think we can get 95% of the way there without having full visibility into exactly how AI is making decisions. Well, we have about 5 minutes before we jump it over to community questions. But you know what? I'm going to go a little bit off script here, John, because I'm interested. No, but I think you're going to like this. I want you to ask us some questions that maybe you have. And I know you've been kind of doing this throughout, but anything that, after having, done your research and put together your video and now having been on this, anything still outstanding that you got the chief cryptographer right here. You got the chief strategy officer, right? What do you think that your audience or even, you yourself still needs to learn more about or still wants to dig into?
So let's say hypothetically, I am a regular person using AI tools. I think that I would want to know, like, what's the simplest real world example of when verifiability would protect me? Like, I'm not a developer. I'm not a cryptographer. I'm just a dude using AI. Like, give me a real world example.
I mean, so I would always say, the more negative repercussions could result from the AI interaction, the more important it's going to be. So for instance, I'll go back to Genfei's example of HTTP and HTTPS. If you're just on a static web page with a bunch of text, it's probably not that important.
Sure.
But if you're on a website where you're entering your credit card information, it's really important. So we take that and we apply it to AI. If you're just asking ChatGPT, hey, tell me a joke that involves a dog, a cat, and a baby. Like, you know, it may not be that important if it's verifiable. But if you're, you know, if you're using AI to come up with a business plan for your business, or approve someone for a loan, or you're giving an AI agent access to your credit card to go shopping for you, like these, if something were to go wrong, could have pretty significant negative consequences. And so it's going to be important for verifiability in those instances. And eventually, now, even when you go on that website that has no, you know, visible way for something to go wrong, it still uses HTTPS because it's the default. It's cheap. It doesn't impact the user experience at all, and it's just become the default. Well, that's how we kind of envision this going, but it's probably going to follow a similar trajectory where initially it's integrated into areas where there could be negative consequences, and then grow from there.
Awesome. I appreciate you letting me ask questions, because I have a million of them. So you could stop me at any given moment when I've rambled on too long. Like, let's say somebody like wants to build an AI app that's actually verifiable today. I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder. I don't know how to do it. Like, how hard is it to do that now? Like, you need a PhD or just like a good like GitHub, repo? Like, what do you? How much does it add to that workflow?
So it depends on, do you already know how to write PyTorch?
Let's assume I don't.
Okay, then that's not a ZKML question. That's a machine learning question. So
Okay.
Yeah, so you probably need to learn to go to do a few like YouTube videos, and then there are quite a few tutorials of how you can write the maybe this could be one of your tutorials as well, one of your YouTube tutorials as well. So just to try to show people how to build a very simple model inference, etc. It may take maybe one day to just to get your model spin up. And after that, as I was saying earlier, after that, if you want to have the verifiability integrated, then it's just a few lines of code change.
And John, I will say, our guest on Tuesday, Suraj, who is also a content creator and does a lot of kind of more developer focused content. His video was basically doing this. He built a credit scoring AI model, integrated it into an application, hooked it into Stripe, and then utilized ZK PyTorch to turn that model from a regular model into a verifiable model. He does know how to code, but he was able to do this with utilizing all of the now the AI coding tools. So he basically gave prompts and did the entire thing without really ever doing any coding himself. So it is possible. I mean, you have to tie a lot of different things together, but the tools are there. You definitely don't need to be a cryptographer. You will need to code, but you know, the quality of the AI coding assistance is becoming so high quality, you probably don't need to know much.
So can I keep going, or you want me to wrap?
Yeah. Well, let's do your last one. Give us your hardest one.
All right. Well, this is not a hard one. This is more of just a broader question. But like, if someone were to say, who's just hearing all this for the first time, like, it sounds cool, but also sounds kind of paranoid. Like, how would you respond to that? Like, are we future proofing, or are we just kind of like future worrying about something?
Genfei, you want to go first?
I would go with future proofing. Yeah, I mean, I think being paranoid is not a bad thing. Like, cryptography wouldn't exist if you are not paranoid. So as a cryptographer,
Yeah.
I'm fine to be labeled as paranoid.
What is, I mean, what is Murphy's law? If something can go wrong, it will.
Oh yeah.
And this is, and Genfei, I don't know, John, I don't think you know this, but Genfei also has done a lot of work on quantum proofing, so that we're prepared when, quantum computers become commonplace, so that all of the cryptographic work he's doing now will still be relevant in a post-quantum world. So I would say, maybe we are being paranoid, but someone has to be paranoid because, like I said before, if something can go wrong, it will.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of if, but when. And this, is not something that's going to happen overnight. Just like the adoption of HTTPS, the adoption of the internet, all of the security now, all of the cybersecurity tools that we have today that protect users in different ways when they're interacting over the internet, they didn't come into existence right away. We have a long kind of road ahead of us, and you have to start somewhere. And so we're excited to lead the charge and kind of be the spokespeople for ZKML and verifiable AI.
Fair answer.
Awesome. Well, with that, we will bring up our master of ceremonies, Anthony, who's been combing the
Anthony's
forums.
back.
And
I'm back, John.
You're not on. Oh, you are back. There you are. All right.
I am.
And you have some questions. You have some questions for us.
Absolutely do. I just I want to jump in on this paranoid versus pragmatic question really quickly because I do have a comment, and it's what these guys have been harking on a lot about as well. Which TC talks a lot about, and Genfei, and obviously Eric, which is the HTTPS. Like, I think it's hard to explain the importance of something, with foresight like this, and for it to be visceral enough before there's, serious negative issues, or on the other hand, like amazing new innovations. But like, I can guarantee you 95% of my friends and family would have no idea what HTTPS is. But if you tell them, like, look, without it, there's no PayPal, there's no online banking, there's no e-commerce, good luck with Uber Eats, good luck with Uber, like that, all of these things wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And not just for the sake of, not just because from nefarious actors, that's a huge reason, but also, global regulations, like IP laws, all of these things around private data. It's not actually possible, especially cross border, without huge amounts of transparency and auditability, which obviously you can't have with billions of parameters, right? So that's really, I think it's extremely pragmatic. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in there. I did love what you said, John, about the university professor, the dissonance, and then the intern. Like, man, like earlier today, I've got to tell you, like, because sometimes I'll take it as scripture, but then other times I'm like, oh, what's going on today, man? Are you okay? Like, GPT, like, is there something going on with your parameters or weights? Like,
Who hurt you?
or did they put, yeah, exactly, yeah, like, or did they just pull the rug on me? Did the model get downgraded or something? Like, what's the issue here? And you don't know. Whereas with ZKML, you would know if something like that had happened. Yeah. But let's move on, guys. Let me jump into some of these questions because I know the guys are champing at the bit. So let's kick it off with, why is trust in AI outputs becoming more critical in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, I can kick us off. I think it's becoming more critical just because it's becoming more ingrained in our daily life. It's touching everything we do. Everyone's using it or people are using it on a daily basis. It's starting to make more critical decisions. And there is a desire and an appetite for letting AI operate more autonomously. And so as that all of those things start to increase, I think that verifiability becomes more important.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense, man. Actually, I was looking at a graphic as well. Ex-OpenAI researcher Daniel Coco-Tahio predicting AI developments to 2026 in his 2021 essay. I'm sure you're probably across this, Zhenfei, but he predicted pretty much everything accurately, saying that in 2027 that the alignment issue is going to be a huge one. And I think it's so easy for, like, things move so quickly, you know, and in 2025, you know, 2027 is just around the corner, and things can move so quickly. It's easy for the general public to miss the signals and just how quickly things are escalating. So I think it is so important right now to be having this conversation. I think that's why it's even more relevant as well, that this happens now, you know?
I think from the consumer perspective too, the more AI is being used for decisions, the more the outputs are important. It's not just like recommending movies anymore. Like, we're talking about somebody getting approved for a loan, what a doctor sees in a scan or an X-ray, how like a resume is ranked for a job, and even now, like what news people are like believing, and all those decisions are happening behind like closed doors. Like, it's black box logic, and if you don't know how decisions are being made, you know, you're building a AI foundation that's just based on like total guesswork. And being able to trust that information that's coming back to you, I think is so paramount.
Absolutely. Agreed. Absolutely. So here's one for all of you guys. I'd love to get your perspective on this. Bit of a Skynet question, but what's the scariest thing that could happen if we trusted unverified AI?
Oh man. Zhenfei, have you
Can't
given
say
this much
Skynet.
thought?
Let's see. Wait, I use AI to write code. Usually it's fine, because whenever he hallucinates, then I will be able to tell. 'Cause, other than what else do I use AI for? Yeah, I always use AI to digest research papers, and I think the worst thing that if the AI goes rogue, what happens to me will be like all my research will be useless and based on wrong facts, which may be acceptable for myself. I don't use AI for trading or for any for disease diagnosis, so the impact would not be too severe for myself.
But it seems like every engineer is now using AI to help them write code, right? So I guess now hopefully this would get caught, but you could imagine a world where AI goes rogue and it starts, you know, injecting backdoors into every application that AI helps to create.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So sometimes, because I have my local AI and it has access to my the API keys, so API tokens, which is something that I use to hook to the remote servers. It may be that the AI will write that code and without knowing that it's part of thing, which is supposed to be local and private, and just write it in the code. And if I didn't pay attention, I will just commit it and release it to the public. That will lead to a breach to the whole system. So that's a very good point. Yeah.
This question keeps me up at night. Like, unverified AI it's like giving like a stranger keys to your house, giving them your bank information, your medical records, just like hoping they do right by you. But like, as someone who doesn't really understand AI, my biggest worries about AI would be like a deep fake video, like sparks a war before somebody can like fact check it. I know it's being used for medical treatment. It denies cancer treatment because of a biased data set. Maybe a facial recognition model flags the wrong person for a crime at some point. Like, there's so many different paths that this could go down without verifiability. But those ones are probably keeping up in cold sweats.
Terminator takes over your car.
Some sort of like self-replicating, self-improving AI that you know, hacks into every important computer system and causes mass chaos. Probably is pretty bad scenario.
Absolutely.
Just hypothetically, you will be able to use ZKML to limit the input to the model. So the self-learning AI, you will, I mean, what it means is that you will be able to control what the self-learning AI is learning. So
there we go. We've solved the problem to my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Which might stop the Skynet saying, okay, you don't touch anything military or something like that. You always just asking, I'll always just answer the where to eat or where to what should I buy for the sneakers.
Absolutely. That's why I was so inspired to join the team, because I was like, with AI in the conversation, I was like, we're gonna have to put this thing on the moon, man. Like, in case it goes rogue. But I'm like, oh wait, we can put guardrails on it, and it'll be okay.
That's a really good point. I talked to a team yesterday about verifiability, and they were saying, well, most of our customers are very large companies that are running all of their AI on-prem in their in their own servers, and sometimes even air-gapped. And I said, well, that is, I think, one solution, but I think that ZKML offers, a alternative method to achieving the same goals, probably at a much cheaper cost and at a much more accessible, in a much more accessible way. So there, we can still achieve some of the things that we're trying to achieve today with ZKML, but I think that this is going to make it much more accessible. Like we said before, it's going to make it so that every AI application is has the security of something that's air gapped, as opposed to just these very, very, very mission critical AI implementations.
Absolutely. Just something you don't even think about. It'll just be the standard. I think it would be silly not to. Really? Okay, well, we're coming up on the hour, gentlemen. So last question. What do we think the future looks like in the next, say, 5 years? If every AI decision is provably fair? Like, what's the golden scenario in your mind in the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, I think like Jen Fei was explaining earlier, I think hopefully we don't even think about it in 5 years. Hopefully we just take it for granted, and it doesn't impact us at all. We're probably using AI a lot more, but we also feel very comfortable doing so, because as soon as something wonky happens, we're immediately notified. Similar, I know you guys have gone to those websites where you get a certificate error and it pops up and says danger, like bad website, don't go here.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the only time we ever think about it, is like we try to interact with AI and something goes wrong, and then we know about it before we take any action on that.
What about AI in general, though? Like with the speed that AI is moving, if everything is verified and safe, and we get to 5 years without there being any major catastrophes, what does the world look like?
I think as trust goes up, so does like adoption. Like if AI becomes provably fair, that becomes the standard, and people stop treating it like magic and start treating it like medicine, something that's like transparent and trusted and accountable. It just becomes a trusted tool and part of everybody's daily life.
Totally. Agreed. What do you think, Jen Fei?
Oh, for 5 years? Okay. Well, I think there will be I guess my take would be a little bit unpopular. I think there's a limit on how much you can learn from all the human information. Like we are using a Gatsby to feed all this information to the machine learnings, but the humans only have so many information for machine to learn. There will be a limit, and I would say that we'll be able to achieve that limit way before 5 years. And this is where the AIGC will be really important. And I don't think it's actually true. At least for now, there's no AIGC. It's just a better extractor for all the information that human has ever created. Hopefully, in 5 years' time, we will see this bar and we'll find a way to overcome this bar so that the real AIGC will be there. And this is where it gets really scary. So again, take a paranoid person's take. So.
With every AI agent, at PhD level, I think the advances we could see, and even just things like material science, biology, like for the economy, for ecology, for the environment. I think that there's a lot of things. Like I'm a techno optimist, man. I think that in 5 years it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful place as long as everything's safe. I think that we're in for a wild, wild ride over the next 5 years, guys. And yeah, I'm here for it. But I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today, John, man.
Yeah, thank you guys
it's been a great pleasure
for having me. I'm sorry if I brought the average IQ of this live stream down a fair amount, but I appreciate the chance to ask the experts the questions.
No, we loved it. You were a great guest. Yeah, we hope to have you again on soon.
I would love that, guys. Thank you.
So do we. And yeah, thank you, Zhenfei, as always, for bringing the knowledge and for all the great work you do, man. Appreciate it so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Until next time.